You just uploaded a new picture on Instagram. You spent time picking the perfect shot, added filters, and carefully crafted the caption. Now you wait, refreshing the page every few seconds. 1 like, 2 likes, 10 likes. Your heart beats. A little faster. A comment pops up. Wow, you look amazing. Feels good, doesn't it? But what happens when the likes slow down? When no one comments? When the engagement isn't what you expected? Suddenly, that excitement turns into doubt. Did I not look good enough? Did I say something wrong? This is the validation trap, the endless cycle of seeking approval from others to feel worthy. We all want to be accepted. It's human nature. From the moment we're born, we look for signs of approval, smiling at our parents to see them smile back, doing well in school to hear a teacher's praise, dressing up nicely to get compliments. But as we grow, this need for validation becomes more than just a desire. It turns into an emotional dependency. We start measuring our worth based on what others think of us. Ever noticed how a single compliment can boost your mood for hours, but one negative comment can ruin your entire day? That's because our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And in today's world, external approval has become the fastest shortcut to feeling good. But at what cost? Let's break this down scientifically. Whenever we receive a like, a compliment, or approval, our brain releases dopamine, the same chemical responsible for pleasure and addiction. It's the reward system in action. The more validation we get, the more we crave it. Over time, our self-worth becomes tied to external approval, and we stop trusting our own judgment. Think about it. How often do you ask others for opinions before making a decision? Do you feel anxious when people don't respond positively to your ideas? Are you afraid of saying no because you might disappoint someone? If any of these sound familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people struggle with this every day, often without realizing it. But here's the harsh truth. The more we depend on others for validation, the less we value ourselves. Now, let's talk about how this need for validation controls our lives, often in ways we don't even notice. We post pictures, update statuses, and share life moments not just to express ourselves, but to seek approval. Social media platforms are designed to keep us addicted. They show us only the best moments of others, making us feel like we need to compete. In friendships, families, and romantic relationships, we often change ourselves to be liked. We agree when we don't want to, apologize when it's not our fault, and suppress our true opinions just to avoid rejection. At work, many people struggle with imposter syndrome, feeling like they're not good enough unless someone constantly reassures them. They hesitate to take risks, fearing criticism or failure. In all these areas, we trade authenticity for approval. But is it really worth it? Here's the good news. You don't have to live like this. In this video, we will uncover the hidden costs of validation seeking and learn practical steps to break free. By the end of this journey, you'll know why you seek validation and how it controls you. How to build self-worth that isn't dependent on others. Steps to develop confidence, set boundaries, and stop people-pleasing. How to live authentically without fear of judgment. The goal is simple: to help you reclaim your self-worth and start living for yourself. So are you ready to break free? Let's begin. Imagine you're scrolling through social media, and suddenly you get a notification. Someone liked your post. Instantly, you feel a small rush of excitement. It's almost automatic. But why? Why? Does external approval feel so good? Why does a simple like compliment or acknowledgement have the power to boost our mood or ruin it when we don't get it? To understand this, we need to dive into the science of validation seeking, how our brain is wired to crave approval, and how society reinforces this habit. Our brains are hardwired for validation. It all comes down to a powerful neurotransmitter called dopamine, also known as the feel-good chemical. Here's how it works. When we receive likes, compliments, or positive feedback, our brain releases dopamine. Dopamine makes us feel happy, rewarded, and motivated to seek more of that experience. This creates a reinforcement loop where we constantly look for external validation to get another dopamine hit. It's the same brain mechanism that makes gambling, social media, and even drug addiction so powerful. The anticipation of approval keeps us coming back for more. Think about it. How often do you check your phone right after posting something? That urge to see who responded is your brain chasing dopamine rewards. But here's the problem. Dopamine is temporary. The high fades quickly, making us seek more and more validation to feel good again. The absence of validation feels like rejection. No likes, no compliments. Our brain processes this as social pain, activating the same areas as physical pain. We become dependent. The more we rely on external approval, the less we trust our own self-worth. This is why people obsess over social media engagement, overthink texts, and fear criticism. Our brains are conditioned to seek and protect validation at all costs. But where does this conditioning start? Our craving for validation doesn't begin on social media. It starts much earlier, in childhood. From a young age, we are taught that approval equals worth. A child gets praised for good grades. They learn that success brings love and approval. A child is scolded for expressing emotions. They learn that being themselves is unacceptable. A child gets attention only when they achieve something. They start believing they must earn validation to feel valued. These early experiences shape our self-worth. If validation was conditional, meaning you only got approval when you performed well, you likely internalized the belief that you must constantly prove yourself. That's why, as adults, many people feel anxious about what others think, struggle with perfectionism, fearing any mistake could lead to rejection, avoid expressing real emotions, fearing they won't be accepted. It's not just about childhood. Society plays a massive role too. Look around and you'll see that society rewards those who seek approval. From a young age, we are conditioned to fit in and be liked rather than be ourselves. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are built on validation seeking. Likes, shares, and views become social currency. The more engagement you get, the more valuable you feel. The less you get, the more you question your worth. Many cultures place a high value on pleasing others, whether it's family, community, or peers. People are expected to follow traditions, suppress individuality, and conform to societal norms. If they don't, they risk rejection, criticism, or even isolation. At work, many people fear speaking up because they worry about what their boss or colleagues will think. In relationships, people compromise their needs just to keep others happy. The result? They lose themselves in the process of trying to be liked. This is why so many people struggle to break free, because validation seeking is not just a personal habit. It's a deeply ingrained societal norm. Here's the harsh truth. Validation seeking is emotionally exhausting. It creates anxiety, always wondering, what will they think? It leads to self-doubt, constantly questioning your worth. It limits your freedom, forcing you to live for others instead of yourself. But what if you could break free? What if you could retrain your brain to find validation from within instead of depending on external approval? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next chapter. Coming up next, how validation seeking affects your mental health and self-worth. Stay with me as we dive even deeper into the hidden costs of seeking approval. Imagine you're about to make an important decision, maybe choosing a career path, posting an opinion online, or even deciding what to wear. But instead of asking yourself, what do I want? Your first thought is, what will people think? This is the hidden power of validation seeking. It doesn't just influence your emotions, it controls your life in ways you don't even realize. It dictates your decisions, relationships, and self-worth, making you feel like a prisoner of others' opinions. In this chapter, we'll expose how this silent force shapes your life and why breaking free is the only way to truly live on your own terms. You make choices based on approval, not personal fulfillment. Many people choose careers, partners, and lifestyles not because they truly want them, but because they fear judgment. They take safe options, avoid risks, and suppress their real desires to fit expectations. Ever held back from sharing your thoughts in a meeting or a conversation just to avoid disagreement? Many people silence their true opinions out of fear of being judged or disliked. Even small choices, what to post online, what to wear, how to speak, can feel overwhelming because of the fear of criticism. This constant battle between what you want and what others think leads to a life filled with doubt, hesitation, and regret. But it's not just decisions. Validation-seeking impacts relationships too. Always saying yes to avoid disappointing others. Suppressing your needs just to maintain peace. Apologizing even when you're not wrong. When you constantly seek validation, you become an easy target for manipulation. Controlling people recognize your need for approval and use it against you. A simple no feels like a personal attack. A small argument makes you feel unworthy. You stay in unhealthy relationships just to avoid feeling alone. At its core, validation seeking prevents real connection, because instead of being yourself, you're constantly trying to be what others expect. And this emotional burden, it takes a massive toll. The mental exhaustion of keeping up appearances is draining. You're always on edge, afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing, overanalyzing texts, facial expressions, and reactions, feeling paralyzed when you don't get immediate approval. When self-worth is based on others' opinions, it becomes fragile. A single negative comment can crush your confidence. Aisha was always the nice girl, helpful, agreeable, and easygoing. She worked hard in school, chose a career her parents approved of, and never said no to anyone. But deep down, she felt exhausted and invisible. She ignored her true passions because they weren't practical. She stayed in a toxic friendship because she feared confrontation. She constantly sought reassurance, feeling anxious when ignored. One day, after yet another sleepless night overthinking a simple decision, she realized, I have spent my whole life trying to be liked, but I don't even like myself. This was her breaking point. She decided to step back, set boundaries, and rebuild her confidence from within. And just like Aisha, you too can break free from this exhausting cycle. But first, you need to recognize its grip on your life. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the warning signs of validation addiction, how to spot them, and what to do about them. Let's uncover the truth together. Imagine this. You're in a meeting and you have a great idea, but instead of speaking up, you hesitate. What if they don't like it? What if I sound stupid? What if my boss prefers someone else's opinion? So, you stay silent. This is validation seeking in the workplace, and it's holding you back more than you realize. In this chapter, we'll explore how the need for approval shapes career choices, why fear of criticism turns you into a yes man, how to build confidence and stand your ground professionally. Your career should be driven by your skills, ambitions, and passion, not the fear of disappointing others. But when you constantly seek external approval, your career choices may look like this: accepting jobs that others approve of, even if you're miserable; staying in a toxic workplace because you're scared of disappointing your boss; overworking just to be seen as hardworking instead of setting healthy boundaries. The result? Burnout, frustration, and career stagnation. Instead of seeking validation, focus on growth. Choose paths that align with your long-term vision. Take risks without waiting for everyone's approval. Trust that your skills and efforts speak louder than external validation. One of the biggest career killers is the fear of saying no. If you say no, will your boss think you're lazy? If you challenge an idea, will your colleagues dislike you? If you speak your mind, will you lose opportunities? This fear turns you into a yes man, someone who agrees with everything to avoid conflict. The problem? You lose your authenticity and professional respect. Instead of earning respect, people may see you as lacking confidence in your own opinions, easily manipulated by pressure, overburdened because you never set boundaries. Solution: shift from a people pleaser to a decision maker. Say no without guilt. Your time and energy matter. Give your honest opinion, even if it's different. Understand that healthy workplaces value critical thinking, not blind agreement. Breaking free from validation seeking at work requires self-trust. Here's how to build it. Instead of thinking, "What if my idea is rejected?" ask, "Is my idea well-researched and valuable? Am I making this decision based on logic or fear?" Confidence isn't about being loud, it's about being clear. Instead of saying, "Maybe we could try this," say, "I recommend we do this because..." Own your expertise. You were hired for a reason. If you're overworked but afraid to say no, practice, "I'd love to help, but I'm currently at full capacity. I can take this on, but it will affect my other priorities. Which task should take priority?" Breaking free from validation seeking isn't just about the workplace. It's a mindset shift, and often this mindset is tied to something deeper: perfectionism. Let's explore that next. Imagine spending hours perfecting an email, rewriting it over and over just to make sure it sounds right. You hesitate before sending it, wondering, will they think I'm smart enough? What if there's a tiny mistake? Will they judge me if it's not perfect? If this sounds familiar, you might be trapped in perfectionism fueled by validation seeking. In this chapter, we'll uncover why perfectionists often struggle with self-worth, the myth of "if I'm perfect, they will approve of me," how to let go of perfectionism and embrace self-acceptance. At its core, perfectionism isn't about being excellent, it's about fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being enough. For a perfectionist, self-worth is tied to performance. If you do everything flawlessly, you feel good. If you make a mistake, you feel like a failure. But here's the truth: perfection is an illusion. Even the most successful people make mistakes. True self-worth comes from who you are, not how perfect you appear. Many perfectionists believe, "If I never make mistakes, I'll be accepted. If I work harder than everyone else, they'll respect me. If I always say the right thing, people will like me." But validation seeking through perfectionism is a losing game. No matter how perfect you try to be, someone will still criticize. You'll never feel good enough because the goalpost keeps moving. The more you chase approval, the more you lose yourself. The solution? Shift your mindset from perfection to progress. Instead of aiming for flawless, aim for growth. Instead of fearing mistakes, see them as lessons. Instead of seeking approval, focus on self-acceptance. Now that we've explored the roots of perfectionism, let's take the first step toward breaking free: awareness and reflection. Imagine this. You're about to post something online, but suddenly a thought creeps in. Will people like this? What if no one reacts? Should I change it to get more approval? That split-second hesitation, that's validation seeking in action. In this chapter, we'll explore how self-awareness helps you recognize validation-seeking behaviors, daily reflection exercises to uncover your validation triggers, why journaling and self-questioning are powerful tools for change. You achieve something incredible, but instead of celebrating, you wait for someone else to notice. What if you could validate yourself and feel truly fulfilled? What self-validation is and why it's a game changer. How to give yourself the validation you seek from others. Simple daily exercises to build self-approval. Self-validation is about recognizing and accepting your emotions, thoughts, and achievements without needing external approval. Why does it matter? It builds unshakable confidence. You stop relying on others to feel worthy. You become emotionally independent, unswayed by others' opinions. When you validate yourself, you reclaim control of your happiness. No more waiting for others to make you feel valuable. Most of us unconsciously seek validation in 3 ways. 1. Approval from others. Do they like me? Do they agree with me? 2. Recognition for achievements. If no one praises me, does it still count? 3. Social media validation. More likes, more worth. Here's how to break the cycle. Instead of waiting for someone to say, "You did great," tell yourself, "I worked hard on this and I'm proud of myself. My feelings are valid no matter what others think." Ever hesitated to feel proud because no one acknowledged it? That stops today. If you feel good about something, you don't need approval to celebrate. If you believe in yourself, you don't need others to agree. Instead of waiting for a compliment, say, "I am talented and I love my work." Instead of waiting for reassurance, say, "I trust myself to make good decisions." Instead of waiting for encouragement, say, "I am strong and I can handle this." You don't need to hear it from others when you can say it to yourself. Every morning, tell yourself, "I am enough as I am. I don't need anyone's approval to feel good about myself. I trust my choices and my journey." At the end of the day, write down 3 things you're proud of. They can be as simple as, "I stayed true to my boundaries today. I worked on my passion project. I was kind to myself when I made a mistake." Look in the mirror and say, "I am proud of who I am becoming. I don't need validation to know I'm worthy." This may feel awkward at first, but that's only because you're used to seeking validation from others. Keep practicing until self-validation becomes natural. You don't need permission to feel valuable. You don't need likes, compliments, or approval to be enough. You are already worthy, just as you are. When you stop seeking validation, you start living freely. Overcoming fear of judgment. Imagine pouring your heart into something, a job application, an idea, or even a relationship, only to be rejected. That sinking feeling? We've all been there. But what if rejection wasn't something to fear? What if it was a redirection towards something better? Why rejection feels so painful? How to handle rejection without losing self-esteem? The mindset shift. Rejection is redirection. Rejection triggers the same part of the brain that processes physical pain. That's why it hurts so much. Studies show that rejection releases cortisol, the stress hormone, making us feel anxious, sad, or even worthless. Rejection isn't proof that you're not good enough. It's simply a mismatch between your expectations and reality. Most people react to rejection in 2 ways. They take it personally, believing they're not good enough. They avoid risks, stopping themselves from trying again. Rejection is not a statement about your worth. It's an opportunity to learn. Instead of asking, "Why wasn't I good enough?" to ask, "What can I learn from this experience? How can I improve next time?" Just because someone rejects your idea, work, or feelings doesn't mean you're not valuable. Your worth is not defined by someone else's opinion. Not everything is meant for you. Sometimes rejection happens because something better is coming. Rejection doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. Think of rejection as a detour sign. It's not stopping you. It's redirecting you to a better path. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Walt Disney was fired for lacking creativity. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. What if they had let rejection define them? They wouldn't have achieved greatness. Your path is still unfolding. Every no brings you closer to the right yes. You are not your rejections. Rejection is not the end. It's a new direction. The only way to fail is to stop trying, embrace rejection, learn from it, and keep moving forward.